In March 2022, American Taylor Fritz faced off against Rafa Nadal at the Indian Wells final. The tournament in California meant a lot to Fritz because he himself was born and raised in the state. As a boy, his dad would take him to the tournament, and one day Fritz Sr. said to his son, "One day you'll win this tournament." From that moment, young Taylor had one goal above everything else in tennis: win his home tournament. But in 2022, the reality was that the odds were stacked against him. It had been 21 years since the last American man had won the competition, and the man Fritz had to beat in the final had enjoyed his best start to a season ever, winning 20 matches in a row. The morning of the final, Fritz went out for a practice session, and only a few shots in felt an excruciating sharp pain run through his right ankle. He collapsed to the floor and immediately thought his final was over. Given how close the final was, he was unable to get a proper diagnosis, but his team thought Fritz's best option would be to pull out. But the American thought otherwise. This was the biggest match of his life against one of his idols. He had to at least try to play. Despite his team thinking he only looked 60% fit, Fritz made his way out onto the court after an injection in his now taped up ankle. Although this was the most pressurised match of his life against a man he had never beaten before, Fritz was surprisingly calm. The fear of playing against someone so dominant was no longer there. Fritz felt composed and ready to just see what happened. And in a remarkable turn of events, Fritz shocked Nadal to win the final in straight sets. As he secured championship point, he collapsed to the ground in sheer disbelief. Only hours earlier, he was limping around believing that there was no chance of playing, let alone winning. After the emotional celebrations died down, Fritz tried to make sense of his win and realised that this serious injury scare was a blessing in disguise. He said to the media, "It helped me. I knew I had absolutely nothing to lose. I had a serious injury and I didn't think I was going to play. It definitely loosened me up and I was like, who cares? I'm injured, and let's go out there and do what I can." Whether he realised it or not, Taylor Fritz engaged in one of the best methods that athletes can use in order to boost their confidence, and that is through positive reframing. Being injured before the biggest match of his life was a clear negative. The easy thing would have been for him to just complain, moan, and feel sorry for himself. But instead, he saw that there could be something good that came from it. He knew deep down this injury took the pressure off him. His expectations were lowered, and this allowed him to feel more confident. For Fritz, success was just initially starting the match, and this allowed him to adopt a point-by-point strategy of easing into the match.